WWE Year in Review. I'm Will, that's Brandon. We're the Cousins of Destruction Wrestling Podcast. As always, let's cheers, talk about some wrestling, huh?
Yeah, we're going to take a look back at kind of like the year that was.
Yep.
And basically talk about the highs and the lows, everything in between. A record-breaking year for WWE, to say the least.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit different of a podcast than we normally do, but it's going to be good. We're going to sit down, go through the year just chronologically in order from WrestleMania 40 to WrestleMania 41. Take a look back at what happened, kind of review over the year, look at it in hindsight, see what we thought about it now, looking back. It's going to be a fun one.
Mm-hmm.
So sit back, relax, like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff, share it, but let's get into this. But let's start at WrestleMania 40, right? That's where we start this whole thing at. We're coming out of WrestleMania. We're not going to go over WrestleMania 40 because that's our starting point. So the second that ends, what do we have? We have Cody Rhodes as champion. We have Damian Priest, surprisingly, as champion. We have Rhea Ripley. We have Bayley. They are our main champions. Jey Uso is red hot coming out of WrestleMania, even though he had a really bad match at WrestleMania. And Roman is now going on a long-deserved break after his streak comes to an end. And the CM Punk is slowly coming back from an injury. He screwed Drew, all that good stuff. So we go into the Raw after WrestleMania, and things were looking damn good for us here at WWE. But Raw after WrestleMania kicked off with a big one. We had The Rock come out, and he basically told Cody Rhodes, I'm coming for you when I come back. Basically, in a roundabout way, he said, hey, I got to go film some more movies, so I ain't going to be here for a while. But when I get back, I'm gonna come whoop your butt, Mr. Rhodes. Mm-hmm. Mr. Rhodes said okay to that. And we'd end the night with Jey Uso getting he won a Fatal 4-Way match, became the number one contender for Damian Priest's title. So right after WrestleMania, we set the tone for what the new year is going to look like, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you look at the way that WrestleMania 40 ended at least, and really that Raw after Mania, I feel like they pressed the right buttons on everything. I feel like they made all the right choices. I feel like WrestleMania 40 was really that crescendo for the Bloodline, obviously, and the Cody storyline. And so you have a breath of fresh air into the new year. You're like, okay, well, that's gone. What's next now? And it really felt like a fresh start, maybe more than any other Mania in like recent memory, because Cody finally gets what's his and there is no Roman. The Rock coming in, then you're like, oh, what is this? What does this look like? And then he does say, hey, I'll just be coming back eventually.
Yeah.
And so you're kind of, the interest is peaked. Everybody kind of obviously thought that, like, with how The Rock destroyed Cody on the way there, that you're like, okay, this is a big time match. Maybe this is that 41 was kind of the thought process.
Yeah. I mean, they started the year doing something that they hadn't been doing for a while, which is just going with their red hot guys, right? So they had all their champions were basically red hot coming out of Mania. And then you had Cody Rhodes was your new, like, this is the face of the company and the obvious face of the company, and now he has our title. You set up the Rock stuff, which in hindsight now is why people are so mad about what happened at WrestleMania 41, because the second that you were done with WrestleMania 40, the first thing that you did was set up the Rock storyline for Cody Rhodes. So when people say, why were we expecting The Rock? Why are we expecting The Rock? You can go back to this date right after WrestleMania and say, that's why we were expecting The Rock, because dude said it right away. So
yeah, and not only did he say that, like, even the build up to 40, like, yeah, I understand Cody won the Rumble and then, okay, he challenges Roman Reigns or whatever, but The Rock was week in and week out, every show beating the hell out of that man, every single show. So it's just like, okay, you came to expect that that's what you thought was going to happen. Now you look back at it and you're like, well, why did we do any of this?
Tough scene. We'll get back to it, though, obviously, because we got a whole year. Backlash build happens. Big things happen in the Backlash build. We got Wyatt 6 debuting. That was a big thing. There was at the time, like, there was cameras at the events from people sitting in the stands. That weird things were happening during commercial breaks. It was a very cool experience. The Wyatt 6 debut was one of the best ever in terms of just faction debuts. We're not talking about the stuff after that. Also, during this time, Rhea Ripley gets attacked backstage in a segment by Liv, ends up breaking something. I forget what it was. It was like her clavicle or something. I don't know. But
her elbow, I think.
Her elbow, something. Her title becomes relinquished, and they do a battle royale. Becky Lynch now wins it. So, I mean, the champions right now are hot as can be, and Becky Lynch is really not that much of a fall off at the time from Rhea Ripley. But after that, we would have the draft, which would reset some stuff. Bianca, Randy, Nia, LA, they go to SmackDown along with the Bloodline and AJ Styles. Braun Breaker gets a call up. Ilya Dragunov, Jey Uso, Seth, Liv. So our stage is set for the entire year. And then we go into Backlash, correct? And we have Bloodline 2.0 finally begins. That's when the big stuff happens. Solo and Tama Tonga go into the match against Orton and Kevin Owens when Tonga Loa shows up. So the Bloodline 2.0 is beginning there. You have Damian Priest. He begins to dislike the Judgment Day because they end up getting him the win over Jey Uso. So we start the Judgment Day stuff. We have Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair. They become the women's tag team champions. So that's a big deal. They kind of set the tone for those all year. And then Cody would get his first defense over AJ Styles. So Backlash was very much a setup for long-term storylines that end up happening in the WWE on Raw and SmackDown from there on out.
Yeah, I mean, you really look at Backlash, and what was nice, at least about that Backlash, at least from what I can think of or remember, it wasn't just like a, hey, we did this at WrestleMania, let's run it back again. And I guess you're looking at this year as well. And that hasn't really been the case yet. So that was nice. Usually Backlash is just the same feuds from Mania. Also,
a side note about this Backlash, introduced us to a common part of 2024, which was international crowds. That was a big one. That was kind of the one that exploded the interest from WWE fans all over. It was the Cody Rhodes AJ Styles match was ridiculous in fan service, and they went nuts, and WWE was like, okay, we're going to book a bunch of stuff there from now on.
Yeah, and I feel like if you really look at it, week-to-week programming, you can really say that the international crowds kind of saved WWE at times. Like some of their weekly shows, I will say they weren't as top-notch as they probably needed to be, especially on the road to 41, which we'll get to in a little bit. But you think about it and you look at it and you're like, the international crowds helped you, whereas the U.S. crowd, sometimes they could see something crazy and then just be like, oh, I'm not impressed. Awesome. I'm not impressed,
What?
So you look at it, and then this was a start, at least for Cody Rhodes, that I was like, okay, cool. He beats AJ. Now I believe this one was the I Quit match, right?
No, that was later on.
Oh, was that one later on?
Before AJ went full bad boy.
Oh boy. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, this was kind of a start where you're like, maybe we just get Cody with like some really good in-ring wrestlers. Maybe this is going to be like a workhorse champion with a great reign. And that didn't really happen.
Oh, we got into one of my favorite parts of the year, which was the King and Queen tournament. I absolutely loved it. It was a full-on tournament on Raw and SmackDown every single week, and it was revealed that not only are we going to have the King and Queen tournament end at the King and Queen PLE, but the winners are going to get title matches, which was a very, very cool thing. They got title matches at SummerSlam, so it was a big, big deal. It was like almost a Royal Rumble-like reward, right? Yeah. So on the way to the tournament, Gunther and Nia, they would basically start their reign of terrors throughout the entire thing. That's when both of them started being booked like the ferocious heels that they were for the entire year. But little stars like Lyra Valkyria really started to become household names, especially on Raw. She was putting on banger matches every single week. This would be the time in the build-up where Liv Morgan would begin her Liv Revenge tour, and she would really want and go after Becky's title at the time, the title that Liv wanted, because she wanted to take everything that Rhea once had. We would get to King and Queen. Gunther would beat Randy Orton with Randy Orton's elbow up, shoulder up, which would become a kayfabe thing down the line, which was pretty cool to see. He'd become number one contender, and then Nia would beat Lyra Valkyria with like a corner annihilator that was absolutely insane. So both of them are good. This would be the start of the Reign of Terror, or Liv's World Tour, Liv's Revenge Tour. Liv Morgan defeats Becky Lynch. She becomes champion. And then during this time as well, we had, just in the mid-card, because we haven't mentioned it, Sami Zayn was doing his IC title stuff. So this really set the tone for a lot of what the championship pictures were going to look like for the future in WWE here.
Yeah, I think it was really important that this King and Queen of the Ring, you look back at it and it's like, okay, well, I still think they made the right calls with each of them that won. I still think Nia was the correct choice. I still think Gunther was the right choice. And it was nice because that catapulted them into feeling important.
Yeah.
Like you actually had a reason to care about them. Obviously, like you said, it kind of set the tone a little bit and you're like, awesome. This is what I like to see. And then you had Sammy, with his IC title reign, looking back on it, like I probably would have wanted him to still drop that title at some point. I understand why he didn't, because you did have such a big buildup to WrestleMania, to that point of him beating Gunther. But at some point in this Sami Zayn reign, it felt like a real missed opportunity for him to lose that title.
Yeah, the Sami Zayn reign was I don't know. We were a little bit overly critical on it, more critical than most. I thought that most of his title reign was coming out kind of blurting the same thing in every single promo, which, I mean, he is animated. He gets the crowd into it when you're there. I mean, that's what he does, but it's just the same thing every single week is kind of what he was doing. And then we'll get further into it, but Braun Breaker ends up being a part of this IC title reign. And that's when it felt like the Haluva kick was the most deadly move in all of sports entertainment. It was incredible how easy he was putting guys down with that. But I think we made up for it in the long run at the end of it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm having a hard time remembering exactly the PLE, but I feel like it was him and Gable and Otis, and I feel like one of them should have had it, and you could have easily had that feud happen, and you could have had that go, because at one point that feud was like the feud that people really wanted the most, and that felt like a misstep to me.
Yeah,
especially with somebody like Chad Gable, who I think he's 0-6 with IC title matches or something like that. That felt like something that really could have happened. I feel like you could have still maybe got back to that same point, the end point with Braun Breaker there, by still doing that.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny that you mentioned the Chad Gable stuff. That was a great mid-card storyline. There's a lot of stuff that we're going to have to skip over because you can't talk about the entire year of wrestling. Their storylines ridiculous at the wazoo. But yeah, that was a great storyline that definitely deserved an IC title down the road. After King and Queen of the Ring, though, we would start getting some of the best feuds in all of wrestling here. CM Punk and Drew McIntyre are now in full swing. CM Punk is back. He's now back from injury, and he's cleared for in-ring return, and Drew McIntyre is still pissed at him for what he did at WrestleMania when he screwed Drew out of it, and Damian Priest took advantage of that. But at the same time that CM Punk gets cleared, Drew wants the belt back from Damian Priest. So he's coming back for his title that he lost at WrestleMania. So we got a triangle there of stuff going on here. And it's perfect timing for Drew because it's Clash of the Castle in Scotland, Glasgow, Scotland, very close to where Drew grew up. So of course he's in the main event, title match against Damian Priest. And we're all sitting there like, man, oh man, Drew might win this thing and go on to face CM Punk in a world title feud. Punk's just going to come right back into it. It's going to be a big deal here. But a lot of stuff happens here. This would be Cody defeating AJ Styles in the I Quit match in Scotland. Bayley right now would be continuing her WWE Championship reign, which looking back on that was not great. We are very much in the boat of we absolutely love Bayley. Until she has a championship around her waist, she seems to just not be a great champion is kind of at the end of it.
Yeah, and I don't know if that ends up being like, I don't know, you kind of look back on it and you're like, man, I don't know if they really put her in a position, like, especially with kind of the stuff now that now you're seeing like, okay, well, Bayley was supposed to be on Mania and then she gets taken out by Becky and she's not on the Mania card. Yeah. And you look at some of that stuff. And so it kind of makes me look back on it and feel just kind of sad because her winning at Mania 40 was the right choice. And then they just seem to drop the ball on it for whatever reason. Really, at least on that SmackDown side with her and Cody, they dropped the ball.
It was a combo of her not being great as a champion because like historically, she's not a very great champion, in my opinion. Like her multiple title reigns outside of NXT, I don't think that she's been utilized very well. So it was a combination of that. Plus, you're right. After Mania, they didn't book her in anything. They didn't really give her any help. She was a product of a lot of the Clash of the Castle stuff was being booked just for the hometown people. That was part of it. Piper kind of came out of nowhere in the world title scene there. And that didn't help Bayley very much. But anyway, we move on. We would have Unholy Union, speaking of people getting booked well in their hometown, which I'm happy with. I'm not hating on that, right? Give them their moment. They pull off an upset, beat Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill, become women's tag team champions to pull that off of them for a little while. Here we would also get John Cena announcing his farewell tour. He comes out and announces his retirement, and everybody's sitting there like, the hell? What do you talk about your retirement? He says, no, don't worry. I got a farewell tour coming up. So that's a big deal. And then we get back to Drew McIntyre, who is screwed out of his championship win against Damian Priest when the ref gets taken out and a iconic moment happens in 2024 when CM Punk slides in the ring and counts the 1, 2, and then just starts laughing at Drew McIntyre. So Damian Priest walks out of Clash of the Castle and as champion still. And then we have, I mean, this is the liftoff of CM Punk, Drew McIntyre.
Yeah, really it was already building, but it's just really kind of like the boiling point. Like now you're like, okay, this is going to be amazing. This is fantastic stuff. Unholy Union was a surprise, but if you look back on it, like it was them and Bianca and Jade, and you're like, well, nobody's beating Bianca and Jade, so obviously they have the tag team triple threat there. And they win it, and it's like, cool. I'm in for surprises like that. Like,
yeah, it's great.
It's nice to not have predictability, so that just helps you right there.
And looking back on it, I thought Unholy Union got more crowd liking than I expected, and WWE still released. I can't even think of her name.
Well, see, that's disappointing.
Alpha Fire and I forget her name. What's her name?
Isla Dawn.
Isla Dawn. They released Isla Dawn. I'm sorry about that, but it was absolutely incredible to see how
so much
quickly.
Fanfare. You forgot her name.
I did. Well, I called him Unholy Union.
Look at that.
We moved on though. Money in the Bank is up next, and everybody obviously wants that thing. At this point, Seth Rollins does return though, and he's like, "Well, no, I want my championship rematch." So you got Drew and Seth and CM Punk, and CM Punk's like, "No, I'm good. Let's do a match here." Or no, Damian is now involved in this because he's the champion. Seth wants his rematch against Damian, but Punk and Drew are involved in it. It's a big thing. Ring around the rosy here. So Seth Rollins ends up getting a match against Damian Priest at Money in the Bank 1v1. Bloodline 2.0 has now been formed here. Solo is now announcing himself as the Tribal Chief. Jacob Fatu is introduced, which is a turning point in the entire Bloodline 2.0 story. This is before Money in the Bank again. We get the Paul Heyman, not my Tribal Chief moment where he gets put through the table and Solo kills his Tribal Chief. Or his wise man. And at this point, Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton, and Kevin Owens are like trying to get ahead of the curve here and be like, okay, well, you guys are obviously forming something stupid with this Bloodline 2.0. We gotta stop it. And Braun Breaker at this point is now slowly working his way up the card, and he wants to become IC champion. So we move into Money in the Bank. And we get two things happening here. We get Tiffy time, which is a great thing. She wins the women's Money in the Bank. That was a big moment. That was like the obvious choice. We all wanted it to happen. It happened. Her, Chelsea Green, all things are go there. We get Solo Sikoa actually pinning Cody Rhodes in what was a clean-ish win for Bloodline 2.0 over Cody, Randy, and Kevin Owens. So we're solidifying Bloodline 2.0 as a major faction on SmackDown and WWE in general. And then most importantly, Drew McIntyre wins the Money in the Bank briefcase and does exactly what he says he's going to do. He goes and cashes it in during the Damian Priest Seth Rollins match. But CM Punk is there, ends up screwing Drew and Seth Rollins out of the win. Damian Priest's title reign continues. And but most importantly here, this is one of the biggest backlash moments of the year in terms of WWE fans versus WWE and them wasting the Money in the Bank briefcase like this. And looking back on it, honestly, it still doesn't feel good. That was a bad decision.
Well, I don't know.
Oh,
because I'm going to ask you, who would you rather have won it then?
Wasn't LA Knight in that match?
Because if you say you look back,
Jey Uso was in that match.
Well, you say Jey Uso, but you wouldn't have got Yeet Mania if he has that.
You're right.
So you look at it and it's like, yeah, you could have said LA Knight, but then you look at that and it's like, well, LA Knight really brought the U.S. title up, which needed to happen. So you kind of look back and you don't get the Jey Uso Yeet Mania, to me at least. If it's
we didn't get the Yeet case.
Yeah, well, the Yeet case would have been cool, but you don't get that if it's just a cash in. I mean, I guess you do still get the pop, but I don't think they would have done it again at Mania, right? Yeah. So you have that happen, and then you look at Tiffany. I still think Tiffany's the right choice here. Looking back on it,
oh yeah,
you could argue Chelsea, but I think we saw with Tiffany the weaknesses that she has against Charlotte. So I think it was smart for them to give her the Money in the Bank briefcase. So then that way it does hide some of her weaknesses there for a little bit. She can kind of hide behind it. Solo gets the win here. He kind of solidifies himself. And at this point you feel really, really good about Solo. And then the stock just kind of crashes,
Not during this time.
It was
only going up.
But I'm saying, looking back at it now, you're like, man, we're going up. Like, you're expecting at this point some big things, and then Fatu star power just overshoots it, which is crazy.
Solo's got a good few months after this. At this point, Bloodline 2.0 is at its best, and it's great. Here,
yeah, but I'm saying, yeah, but like you look back at it, and it's like, okay, I mean, it's kind of all for nothing in a sense.
Well, Fatu's a big-time star now.
I think Fatu would have been a big-time star regardless of if he's in Bloodline 2.0, if he's on Raw, if he's on SmackDown, if he's on the moon, if he's on Mars. I think Fatu shines through. I just think he's that talented. He's that great.
Yeah.
So I know that that's all kind of like mixing to build towards that. and everybody knows how great Fatu is. But you heard the rumors before Fatu came that, okay, well, they're a little bit worried about Fatu overshadowing Solo, and then it was pretty fast.
Bada boom.
Mm-hmm.
It's SummerSlam time. We get the build up. Rhea Ripley returns, and she's back with the Judgment Day. She's back with her Dom boy. She wants the title back from Liv, the title she never lost, right? And during this time, we start getting the Liv Dom, will they, won't they? Liv's all up in that dirty Dom grill every single week. Will they not? Damian Priest at this point is now fed up with Judgment Day. He's overboiled with it. Finn's in his head. He basically can't win anything without Judgment Day, and that's pissing him off because everybody's calling him a fake champion. Logan Paul is in the middle of the worst U.S. title reign in the history of title reigns ever, and LA Knight's pissed about that. He's coming for him. Nia Jax is the number one contender for Bayley's title. Gunther's the number one contender for Damian Priest's title, obviously, but Tiffany now has the title, or now has the Money in the Bank briefcase, and she's Nia's best friend, so we got that Money in the briefcase floating around the title scene at this point. And then Drew and CM Punk. Full force here. Seth is right in the middle of it. Seth has an injury, so can't be a part of a match in SummerSlam. So he's designated to the special guest referee role. And then Cody Rhodes wants to put down Solo Sikoa once and for all in that SummerSlam. That is what happens. We'd have a lot of stuff here. Dirty Dom chooses Liv Morgan over Rhea Ripley. Starts the Liv Dom era, which has been spectacular. Love every second of it. Sami Zayn finally puts Braun Breaker over. He becomes IC champion. LA Knight ends the era of Logan Paul's U.S. title reign, which was terrible, but ended in a phenomenal match here. Nia Jax would defeat Bayley. Tiff would tease the cash-in for the very first time. That became a roll-bout story. We get Finn Balor turning on Damian Priest, which means Gunther now wins the championship here. Judgment Day is now completely split because of the Dom and Finn turn. So the age of Gunther is now beginning. Drew McIntyre would actually defeat CM Punk with the help of Seth Rollins throughout the match, because Seth and CM Punk obviously hate each other too, so they get after it in the match. And then Cody Rhodes not only defeats Solo Sikoa, but he defeats Solo Sikoa with the help of the returning OTC now, original tribal chief Roman Reigns. SummerSlam was a banger.
Yeah.
SummerSlam was a banger looking back on it.
Yeah, SummerSlam was fantastic. You had probably the Dom and Liv stuff, even to this day, is some of the best on-screen stuff that we see, and everybody cheers it, even if they're not in matches that much. I mean, it's just the on-screen chemistry that they have is phenomenal. You look at the Braun Breaker, Sami Zayn stuff, that was fantastic. LA Knight, you started to really get him like, okay, this is a breath of fresh air. Like Logan Paul winning that U.S. title, and you're like, oh, well, it's not really going to be around that much. LA Knight, it's a breath of fresh air. Like this really kind of rejuvenated it. You might have like after Mania, you're like, oh, well, let's just kind of get to SummerSlam. SummerSlam needs to be the big point. And this was phenomenal stuff.
Yeah, we moved right on to Bash in Berlin. This is when the Dirty Dom, Liv Dom thing was in full swing. Jade and Bianca announced they want their titles back. Drew and CM Punk now it's 1-1 situation. Or no, that's their first match, right? That was the first match here. So we need a second match. We now get the bull strap match coming up. He beats the hell out of him. Terror Twins. This is when the tide turned for some of the crowd against Rhea Ripley, I would say, and Damian Priest. Both of them, obviously, Rhea's still phenomenally loved. I mean, she's one of the biggest stars in the industry. Absolutely nothing against that. But Damian Priest was getting a lot of fanfare, and a lot of people were happy with his title reign, which was unexpected. And then the Terror Twins thing happened, and I feel like a lot of people kind of fell off there. They became just overbooked as can be. I mean, they were destroying absolutely everybody, making Judgment Day look like idiots every single week. And Randy Orton returns, and he wants his title shot against Gunther because he brings up that at, the King and Queen of the Ring, Randy's shoulder wasn't down. So in Bash in Berlin, we get a lot of this stuff going on. Terror Twins defeat Liv and Dom in a match. We have Jade and Bianca reclaim their titles. Gunther beats Randy Orton. CM Punk would defeat Drew McIntyre in a strap match. And during this time, they were fighting over a bracelet. CM Punk's bracelet with his dog and his wife's name on it. They made a bracelet feel like a freaking championship. It was incredible. And then Cody would defeat Kevin Owens in what was a respect match between him and his best friend. So Bash in Berlin was good stuff, but it ended on a dumb note. Because The Rock returns at the end of that's Bash in Berlin. I apologize. Nope, that's
no, you're getting way far.
I saw BA and thought Bad Blood.
BB.
Bash in Berlin was good stuff.
Yeah, it was good stuff. You had the reinforcement that Jade and Bianca were tag team of the year, and I mean they do end up winning that award. The Terra Twin stuff, it was very short. I feel like it feels longer in my head than it actually was.
Yeah.
It feels like it was months and months and months. But when you look back at it, it's really like, okay, that wasn't really that long. But with how tough it was at times, you're like, God, okay. Like it did bring the stock down in my eyes of Rhea. Now, when you're there, though, I mean, she gets the biggest pops of the night. And then Damien's the one that really kind of suffers here. Damien's the one that kind of he sours the taste on.
When you're reading through it, it doesn't sound like a big deal or very long, but I think it was a big deal because we're just now, current day, getting to the point where Judgment Day feels like a decent faction again. And I think that they lost a lot of their stock during this time, during this booking. When the Terra Twins thing was happening with Rhea and Damien, it was like we called them the Looney Tunes on a weekly basis. The Judgment Day were the Looney Tunes. And honestly, it took the rest of the year to get them back up to the point where come Mania time, we wanted Dirty Dom to win, or we wanted Liv and Raquel to be a thing. Like I feel like it really pushed Judgment Day back, and it was unnecessary to the level of terror that the Terror Twins caused.
Well, and then wow, that just sounds, the way you put that just sounds stupid. The level of terror. You sound like
The level of terror.
You sound like you're doing a movie promo.
Damn right I am.
Yeah, and I would even say that like Judgment Day it's not even Judgment Day that people still cheer for now. It's just Liv and Dom.
Yeah.
Like, so Judgment Day as a whole still feels ridiculous, still feels like they shouldn't really be together anymore.
Yeah.
Which they kind of struggled and wavered at times before, but when the Terror Twins came out on a weekly basis and destroyed them, it's like, okay, well, I don't care about this faction.
Not at all.
Give me a new faction.
Yeah. We were talking about them splitting months ago. We get Bad Blood build. Bad Blood, the right one. Roman Reigns is now back. He skipped out on Bash in Berlin, but Roman Reigns is back, but he's trying to take out Bloodline 2.0 by himself. It's not working out. It's a lot of guys versus him. He's getting his ass whooped. Cody Rhodes ends up suggesting that they work together, and this pisses off Kevin Owens, which ends up being a big time story thread throughout the thing. It pissed off a lot of people. Cody Rhodes teaming with Roman Reigns. Drew and Punk continue to kill each other at this point. Drew would do the big attack on Punk and SmackDown, leaving him in a stretcher. This would set up a Hell in a Cell match at Bad Blood. Rhea and Liv feud is now in full force. Dom is now a thorn in Rhea's side as well. Rhea gets a match at Bad Blood with Dom hanging from a cage, and Damien's dealing with Finn during that. Bad Blood, we do get Liv defeating Rhea with Dom hanging in a cell with the returning Raquel Rodriguez, which was a sort of big deal at the time. They didn't really pull it off, but at the time it was a big deal. Priest would defeat Finn pretty easily. Nia defeats Bayley again, but we would get another Tiff cash in, tease. So that was the story. We'd have the absolute classic, which was the CM Punk Drew McIntyre Hell in a Cell, 5 out of 5 stars. If you haven't watched that, watch it. It's incredible. But CM Punk wins that and kind of sets that's the end of the Drew CM Punk feud for the time being. But big thing that happens here, Kevin Owens would attack Cody Rhodes backstage after the show. So that, Kevin Owens is officially pissed. But the bigger thing that happened at Bad Blood was, if you smell, The Rock shows up for the first time since at Raw after WrestleMania, and he does the throat slit with the counting to 3. And that's it. He was inserting himself back into Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes' storyline, and we didn't hear from him for months after that. That happened. So
yeah, I mean, you look at it, and the Drew Punk stuff obviously speaks for itself there. The Rhea Liv stuff at this point, it felt like Rhea was getting the upper hand and always kind of getting the upper hand. I mean, even as early as this, because this was the one that she looked at the ref, right, and was like, "Yep, I need."
You understand, right?
Yeah. So that was weird.
I understand, Rhea.
The return of Raquel, like, we built that up, but they didn't do it properly. Like, I feel like none of the attention was really on the return.
Yeah.
As it really kind of should have been, or should have felt like it should
well,
have been.
It was the botchy return,
Uh-huh.
right? It was the cameraman was in the way, and no one knew it was Raquel. It was weird.
Yeah, the whole thing was just was not executed very well. The Cody Roman stuff, I didn't really have that big of a problem with it, I guess. Like, the enemy and my enemy is a friend sort of thing. Like, yeah, I don't really like you, but I really hate these guys more. I didn't really, hate that too much. Especially, you get Cody and Roman teaming together, I was like, yeah, I mean, we're never really gonna get to see this again. So sign me up. Rock stuff, you could have just looking back, you could have just not done it, and you probably shouldn't have done it.
Nope.
But they did, and so that kind of, I mean, if anything, you could at least say it built anticipation. It made your mind run. Like, what does this mean for months and months and months? But to the discredit, that's where they get in trouble because everybody runs for months and months and months, and then you overbook stuff, and then you underdeliver.
We get Crown Jewel, which was a Crown Jewel show. But the big things here were that Roman would start making amends with the Usos. He realized that he needs help, real help, and he wants to get the OG bloodline back together. He won't say yeet, but he ends up saying yeet. It was a pretty funny moment when he ended up saying yeet. During this time, Bronson Reed is now a superstar. He's destroying Seth Rollins, destroying everybody. All that good stuff. And it's announced that at Crown Jewel, we're going to get the first ever Champions of Champions title. These massive, huge titles that, so the Crown Jewel will now have both Raw and SmackDown men and women's champions face each other, and the winner of the winners would get these huge belts. So Crown Jewel happens, and we get Bloodline 2.0. Still is too much for Roman, Jay, and Jimmy, because we do have Survivor Series coming up, just as a spoiler alert. Rollins would defeat Bronson Reed, but Reed would pop right back up after the pin, establishing him as like a big-time threat in the division. And then Liv Morgan and Cody Rhodes, they defeat Liv, beat Nia, and Cody defeat Gunther, and they become the first ever Crown Jewel big-time champions. This was a Crown Jewel show. They're throwaway normally. They're Saudi shows. Is what it is. Yeah. Cool belts, I guess, but whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I do like the idea of champion versus champion. I like that, but I do like that specifically at Survivor Series. Yep. For instance, I like the brand split, the brand warfare at Survivor Series better. Because it also at times, like, I guess Survivor Series is a special case, but when you do it on like a Crown Jewel, then to me it establishes the pecking order, I think, right? Like, this title is more important than this title, or this one is more important than this one. Survivor Series is a little bit different because you have the shows, right? And you could say, well, this show is better than this, or whatever.
Yeah, you're fighting for more than yourself.
You're right. Yeah,
that's a good point.
And I just feel like that's, I don't know. I guess the Crown Jewel was a Crown Jewel, but it made me realize I want brand warfare back.
It was a big time moment for Liv. That was like her peak. During her reign, she was the champion and she was a Crown Jewel champion. Yeah, she'd beat Rhea multiple times. She had her friend back. So it was a good moment for Liv. Survivor Series build, though, big time. This is when Bloodline 2.0 needs to be stopped. They're killing everybody. Paul Heyman makes his big return. Roman, Jay, and Jimmy are asking everybody to be their fourth member, but OG Bloodline has caused so much trouble in the past that nobody wants to do it. Insert CM Punk, and this is when you get the first mention of the favor. Paul Heyman is giving a favor to CM Punk to be involved in the match, something that will come down the line.
Oh, yeah, because he's the fifth one. Yeah.
Yep, he's the fifth member.
Because they have Sammy. Yep.
Oh, yeah, they have Sammy, too. You're right. Shinsuke Nakamura returns. He looks to be LA Knight. Jade Cargill is attacked. Big time deal. And Naomi is right there for her friend Bianca, and she steps into the role as tag champion and takes Jade's spot in the women's War Games match. And at this point, Tiffany Stratton and Nia Jax are not happy with each other because Tiffany seems to be teasing the cash in every week at this point. Yeah. It was literally every week at this point. And we were all loving it, honestly. We were sitting there like, just do it because we want to see it.
I don't know about love. I feel like there eventually came a point that you're like, God, this is too many teases.
Survivor Series would end up happening, and we have Tiffany Stratton teased it in she hit it in a trash can during the War
I did
game
like
match.
that. I did like that. That was cool.
She loses, though. Her team loses to the team of Rhea, Bianca, Io, Naomi, and Bayley. And if you listen to those names, that's why they won the match. Holy. Shinsuke Nakamura comes back. He has a great new character, wins the U.S. title immediately from LA Knight. So we thought, whoa, big things to come for Shinsuke. Not the case there. Gunther would defeat Damian Priest once and for all. And then the Bloodline Civil War did happen. The big time match, OG Bloodline versus Bloodline 2.0. And OG Bloodline gets the win, and kind of that wins the Civil War for a little bit. Roman Reigns and them stand tall. This was a good one. I mean, this is the end of the Bloodline Civil War for a lot of ways. Yeah. Bloodline Civil War, I think, lived up to the hype in hindsight. I thought it was great. It was a big test for Solo Sikoa. It was a big test for WWE to figure out any sort of way to do a faction with the Bloodline name that didn't include Roman Reigns, because he was the faction. That's what Roman Reigns was for 3.5 years of Bloodline. And they got Bloodline 2.0 over enough for me to care. The Civil War was great. I loved it.
Yeah, I do remember at that point, I still thought that Bloodline 2.0 should have won. But
Yeah,
you
same.
look at it now and you're like, okay, well, it makes sense. Especially the favor kind of came into play or was the first mentioned. And so that's when you're like, okay, what is this? Now the favor growing and growing and growing and growing to what it is. You're like, okay, I can see it. I can understand it. So big moment. Yeah, like you said, it had a payoff that I thought delivered. I feel like some people didn't necessarily, but you're not going to win. You're not going to win everybody over with every choice. I think the only real misstep at Survivor Series was probably Shinsuke.
Yep.
At the time, I was shocked, I would say. I was like, oh my God, they just gave that to Shinsuke over LA Knight.
Yeah.
That must mean he's going to do something phenomenal, something out of this world. And instead, we just got the walking around backstage, cool entrance, but you got the mist from time to time. And that was really kind of all you got.
Yeah. Big letdown.
Yeah, it felt like if you were going to make the switch of some sort, you could have at least had a good back and forth, I feel like, at some point. I feel like that was just to give him the title, just to give him the title sort of thing is kind of what it felt like.
Right. But during this time, what I remember thinking was just like CM Punk has it. He's back. Like at that point, he had done the strap match. He had done the Hell in the Cell. He had done the War Games, showed out in every single one of them. I was like, not only is CM Punk back, but like he's arguably better than ever. Like in the ring, like phenomenal. So that's what I remember coming out of Survivor Series feeling. Well, we get the first returning Saturday Night Main Event, PLE, not PLE thing. We got two of these in the span of a month and a half here. The first one was all about Drew being a bad heel during the time. I'm right. He reinvented what the heel was at this point, which is now kind of what all heels in WWE are doing, which is really good. Women's mid-card championships are introduced. Huge deal. We got the US and the IC Women's Championships. Cody Rhodes at this point would be giving another shot to Kevin Owens because he attacked Cody Rhodes of bad blood, and at this point he had given Randy Orton a power driver and put Randy Orton out of action for forever. And at this point, Finn Balor would find himself in a title match with Damian Priest and Gunther, triple threat action at Saturday Night Main Event. The Saturday Night Main Event shows themselves, they were looked at as sort of, they're live shows, kind of, jacked up live shows. Chelsea Green would become the first ever women's U.S. champion, which was the correct choice. She defeated Mi Shin after a tournament. It was great. Gunther would put to rest Finn and Damian, so that's done for Gunther. Liv would defeat Io Sky here in a very, very good match, but Liv was cooking at this point. We thought, man, sky's the limit with her at this point. And then Cody Rhodes did defeat KO, but after the match, KO pile drives him.
Yeah.
Breaks the man's neck.
Yeah, I mean, Chelsea, like you said, was the right choice, and it was kind of a nice crowning achievement for her at this point. Gunther, Finn, Damian, I do remember that being just a fun match, but it was also like, well, Finn's here to take the pin, and that was kind of the first instance of this, right? I believe Finn takes the pin here, right?
Oh, yeah.
Cody getting pile driven by KO. I remember being upset. Why didn't they show this on TV?
Yeah.
Still kind of like, why not? Because
Winged Eagle title.
Yeah. I mean, just the people that you put it on TV on NBC for people that maybe don't have some of the stuff to see it. I feel like you still probably should have just put it on there, but they didn't. That is what it is. Like you said, the main person that kind of came out of this is Liv. You look at Liv and you're like, okay, she's hitting on all cylinders. She's got the character down. It's fun stuff with her and Dom. And then you have her in the ring. Like, this is really maybe the kickoff point, or really maybe the height that you're like, Liv's really improved in the ring here.
Yes.
And it's just steadily gotten more noticeable over the year.
Yeah, she's as good as it gets, man. We'd have the big Raw to Netflix premiere. Mm-hmm. Big one. It was I think it was like the first of the year or something close to that. It was really close.
It was the first episode of the new year.
Yeah. John Cena, that's when his farewell tour began. He came out and he said that his eyes were on winning the Royal Rumble. He won number 17.
I believe the 6th. January 6th.
It was something like that. Roman Reigns defeats Solo Sikoa in the Ula Fala match. I forget what it's called, but he regains his Ula Fala. That became a big part of their rivalry there. Rhea Ripley would defeat Liv Morgan and become the World Heavyweight Champion. That was a thing. CM Punk defeats Seth Rollins, so that starts what ends up happening at WrestleMania. And then The Rock returns to say nothing. He didn't mention any of the previous years worth of storytelling that he popped in to do from time to time. He hugged up on Cody. It was a complete Dwayne Johnson appearance, not the final boss, which I get it, shareholders and all that. But again, I keep mentioning this stuff because it puts it into perspective why people feel the way they do right now in current day WWE about The Rock. But Raw to Netflix was a good move overall. It's been fun watching it on Netflix, I think.
Yeah, I would say that they wanted to hit a home run with this one. I would say maybe it wasn't a home run, but it was maybe a triple. I mean, it was close. I would say it was close for sure. You got all the stuff right. You had the Roman Reigns stuff, which was fun. You had Punk versus Rollins, which was huge, I thought. The Rock stuff started off with that, if I remember correctly. The Rock came out and he welcomed everybody, and then he so you think that you're going to get something, and it's like a 20-minute thing of just like,
And remember, he heard the backlash, and he went on NXT the next night,
and
he basically told everybody, you don't know a damn thing, just sit and watch The Rock's ride that he's taking you on.
Right, and then you look at it, and The Rock is, if he was just, a couple weeks ago or last week, says that, like, it kind of hints that there's really no ride.
No, there's no ride.
So he's like, oh, you don't know what's happening. But I don't know. I mean, you look at it, and especially it was weird to see him and Cody interact. I remember trying to like justify it at the time, being like, oh no, that's fine. I mean, that's Cody Rhodes. He's TKO Rock right now, right? But you think about it in terms of just wrestling, and you're like, well, if I'm Cody Rhodes, I'm jumping the barricade right now, and I'm beating that guy up. But it is what it is.
Shareholders. We're going to get to Royal Rumble here real quick. We do have a Saturday Night Main Event build, and notable things that happen here is Tiffany Stratton does cash in. She becomes champion in a big moment. Nia Jax does not try to get her championship back, which we're now picking up in this current day, but that happens. At Saturday Night Main Event, nothing really happens here. Jacob Fatu kills Braun Strowman, basically, but he's back at the Royal Rumble a week later or whatever it is, and Gunther would defeat Jey Uso in a one-on-one match, which kind of kickstarted what we got going into WrestleMania 41, because the idea was Jay can't beat Gunther. He's too much of a big bad bully. Yeah. So we lead into the Royal Rumble build, which was everybody was entering in the Royal Rumble at the time.
Well, that's always what it is.
Yeah.
I'm going to win the Rumble.
I'm going to win the Rumble. And then Cody Rhodes and KO, their feud is just cooking at this point with absolute gas. Everybody's invested in it at this point. We have Kevin Owens doing his car interviews, which were freaking hilarious. It was just good stuff here. And we get the Royal Rumble. And Royal Rumble, big things happen here. Everybody was worried about Charlotte Flair returning and winning the damn thing. Charlotte Flair returns and wins the damn thing. So she's going on to WrestleMania. Roxanne was second place, which was great. We had a bunch of people. The Women's Royal Rumble was a great match. A bunch of call-ups and stuff during the match. But Jey Uso would also win the Royal Rumble. Big one. John Cena was the very last one before him. He kicked him off the rope. It was a big, the picture of John Cena shocked looking at the camera with Jay celebrating. Yeet Mania is now, loading. And then Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes had a ladder match for the ages, man. I mean, they absolutely destroyed each other. It ended with Cody Rhodes Alabama slamming KO through a wedged ladder, and Sami Zayn was watching it happen the entire time. But a notable thing that happened after the Royal Rumble was John Cena said, best for business is me going on to win Chamber and win 17. So we get hints there. And then during the Rumble match as well, you get Roman Reigns, CM Punk, and Seth Rollins basically costing each other out of the Royal Rumble match, setting up that feud. So Royal Rumble, direct line to Mania at this point.
Yeah. I mean, the only real gripe I feel like you could have is the Charlotte thing.
Yep.
Now, I'm not defending what they did, but if you wanted to legitimize Tiffany Stratton, I mean, that's how you do it. You have Charlotte win, but you could have had somebody else win it, I still think. And you still could have maybe given her that chance. I wasn't the biggest fan of it then. I remember it being my pick and being like, I hope that I'm wrong. And then it happened, and I said, but this feud is hopefully going to be good. We'll see what happens. Obviously, we'll get to that here in a minute, but I would have preferred somebody else to win the Women's Rumble. Jey Uso is a fantastic choice. I know a lot of people, at least us, we weren't upset that Jey won it. We were upset that Cena lost it. And it's not that we didn't pick Cena to win it, or maybe you did. I can't remember.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But it's like, damn it, I want John to get 17, no matter what it takes. Well, we find out later. It takes a lot, I guess. Yeah. But you're like, damn, Cena almost had it. Like, I wanted Cena to win it so bad. You get the Roman Seth Punk stuff, and you're like, how are they going to somehow carry this to Mania? This is huge development.
Yeah.
You even had LA Knight, Drew McIntyre, that weird stuff. Like
the winners of the Rumble clouded the idea of what people had for their main events of WrestleMania, because it was like, okay, CM Punk needs to be in the main event this year. He deserves it. Like, this is his time. But you have Jay win, and we all still expect John Cena to get there somehow. So how are you going to pull all this off? And then Charlotte Flair's in the main event scene, and we're like, okay, Tiffany Stratton, is she ready for that? How are they going to pull this off? They did pull off 90% of it. The Charlotte Flair Tiffany stuff. But, you know, on paper, before the Rumble, that looked like a good idea. Charlotte Flair versus Tiffany Stratton looked like a great match and a great feud. It's just, you know, in hindsight, hindsight's easy.
Yeah, hindsight is easy, and that's kind of what we're looking at a little bit here. But also, like, the only other thing I will gripe out a little bit about the women's Rumble is the Nia Jax spot, where she eliminates like 8 women.
Oh my God, I remember that.
She eliminates 8 people, and then nothing, I mean, literally nothing happens. She just took out like a third of the Rumble participants, and then she was off screen forever.
Yeah, that was bad. We get our chamber bell now. Road to WrestleMania has begun. KO is now pissed at Sami Zayn because Sami watched Cody beat him. Punk wants his Mania main event. He is sure about it, and he's going to do it through the Elimination Chamber match. Liv and Raquel would win the tag team titles off of Jade and Naomi at the time. And then The Rock returns.
Bianca and Naomi.
Whatever. And The Rock returns, and he wants Cody's soul. That's what he says. He wants his soul. I want your soul, Cody Rhodes. And we're like, oh, it's Mania time. The Rock's here. He wants his soul. I don't know what the hell that means, but at least Rocky's back, and we're going to get the payoff to all this stuff. Enter Elimination Chamber. Jade Cargill will return, and Naomi attacked her. How do we figure that out? Because Jade kicks the hell out of Naomi to start the Elimination Chamber match. Bianca's crying in the corner, but ends up winning the Elimination Chamber still. So she's going on to WrestleMania to fight Rhea Ripley at the time. Kevin Owens defeats Sami Zayn in an unsanctioned match, which was great, but Randy Orton would return at the end of it, and he's hinting, I'm going to punch you in the head, so we get that Mania going. Seth Rollins ends up helping John Cena win the win the Elimination Chamber by stomping CM Punk after he was already eliminated. Cena wins that way, which should have been the first sign for all of us, but we're all stupid. And John Cena wins the Elimination Chamber, and so he's going on to face Cody Rhodes, but it's time for the Cody Rhodes Rock segment. And Rock says, I want your soul, Cody Rhodes, and Cody says, F you, Rock. But then he makes a little signal with his finger and his hand, and John Cena heel turn happens, and it's spectacular to this day. But hindsight is that was the last thing that we got with the John Cena Rock stuff. It was on every social media post. It was The Rock has sold his soul to, or John Cena has sold his soul to The Rock, over and over on all social medias, including WWE, and we never got the payoff to that to this day. But Elimination Chamber was spectacular. I mean, that was an event at the time, man.
I still think it's probably it might be the best PLE of the year.
Probably.
It might be.
It was incredible.
If it's not 1, it's number 2. I mean, it's up there. I mean, you had just the drama of the men's chamber, the drama of the women's chamber. Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens was very underrated. I mean, that is a dang good match. The Rock stuff kind of clouds it a little bit, but I mean, at the end of the day, you have heel John Cena. Like, this never was supposed to happen. If you listen to the final boss, you're just supposed to enjoy the ride. You're supposed to wait it out.
Talking to me?
Yeah.
Final boss ain't got shit. He ain't got no plan. There ain't no ride on it. If the ride's the pavement and I'm just walking on the damn pavement, that's what I'm doing to this day, because he ain't got no damn plan. Screw you, Rock. And then we get to where we are kind of permanent or to the day, and now we can kind of go over what the WrestleMania 41 build looked like. We had Naomi and Jade hate each other, and that led to Naomi changing her character into this heel Naomi. I mean, just spectacular. Proceed with caution. Rhea gives Io a title shot because there was a number 1 contender match or something happened. And anyway, Io ends up winning the title off Rhea. I mean, just winning it.
It was for the chamber. Remember? It was Liv and Io to get into the chamber.
Oh, you're right. To get into the chamber. Mm-hmm. Rhea was nice about it and said, okay, you get a match. But Io ends up winning it, which means Io versus Bianca at WrestleMania until, as Bianca said it multiple times, until Rhea Ripley headbutt her way back into the Mania title match. That was a miss of a story, in my opinion. John Cena, heel John Cena, was a brand new thing. He wants to ruin wrestling. We have no idea what the hell that means. Him and Cody Rhodes go back and forth 3 or 4 times on the mic. Each time it's phenomenal. But I will say John Cena didn't show up enough for a lot of people's likings. It was the road to WrestleMania. He only showed up 4 times. It is what it is.
He did give you the number of dates, though.
He did.
In his defense, I mean, I get why people are mad, but also he did say, I only got this number of dates.
He did. Kevin Owens ends up getting injured, though. I guess it happened before even his Chamber match, but he's going to miss Mania. Tiffany Stratton and Charlotte Flair. They have a feud that is...
One for the ages.
Heavily criticized.
One for the ages.
One for the ages. Judgment Day tension begins with Dirty Dom and Finn Balor. If you follow Finn, everybody's happy. Gunther would end up killing Jimmy Uso in front of Jey Uso, which would really establish this feud as being one of the top feuds going into WrestleMania. And then CM Punk's favor gets revealed when he says that Paul Heyman will be joining him at WrestleMania by his side, not by Roman Reigns' side, and that he gets a WrestleMania main event. So him, Roman Reigns, and CM Punk are main eventing WrestleMania. How do you feel about that WrestleMania 41 build? Now that we're kind of like a month out of it, at the time, it was heavily criticized, but looking back on it, how do we feel?
I would still criticize it.
Yeah.
I feel like the build to WrestleMania 41 didn't really deliver for like a WrestleMania. I feel like the European crowds honestly really kind of helped out a lot of the stuff. I feel like we didn't really get a whole lot of substance or a whole lot of just great storytelling. The feuds, you're like, okay, well, I mean, this is kind of what we get. Like when we get there, like we had the positive mindset of, maybe the builds aren't really the best, but the matches are going to be really good. The matches will be what steal the show. You had just the need to put Rhea Ripley in, and I understand why they did that, but they made it so messy, and that was a big issue. Everybody wanted to kind of find a little bit about why Cena sold his soul to The Rock, but then they seemed to kind of pivot, and The Rock really wasn't mentioned a whole lot. John Cena's heel turn is still fantastic, don't get me wrong. He's still doing great stuff, but The Rock involvement, you're like, why did you have all this? What was the build up there? So that was kind of a weird letdown. Tiffany and Charlotte was that. Really was looking forward to the KO Randy stuff. Obviously, we didn't get that.
Yeah.
So that kind of sucks to see. You had the tag titles that were the tag titles, right? Like SmackDown tag titles don't make the card. Raw tag titles make the card, but they're just terrible. So I feel like obviously, I think everybody hopefully understands that all WrestleManias aren't going to be like a 40 or maybe a 39 or some of the bigger, better ones the last 2 years. But I still do feel like they could have done a better job with the actual storytelling of the feuds.
I agree. My main gripe was probably the Rhea one. I wanted her in the match, and for the reason that what ended up happening was that the match stole the show at WrestleMania. It's phenomenal. It's just, let's get some better storytelling in there. It didn't feel like she needed to drop it to Io. You could have written, Io gets screwed another way, and we kind of just, roll that down a hill and have Io end up there. So I think they overcomplicated that. I personally thought the John Cena, Cody Rhodes, I still watch them to this day. Some of them in my free time, I will put on one of the John Cena, Cody Rhodes promos from the road to WrestleMania because I thought that they were that good. If you wanted some more, I understand. But like you said, we were given the dates, man, and enjoy the Cena farewell tour. And then the CM Punk stuff was just incredible. And that led us to WrestleMania 41, where we are now. Yeet Mania. It happened. Dirty Dom wins the IC title. Tiffany Stratton actually gets the win over Charlotte Flair, which a lot of people were worried about. Io Sky beats Bianca and Rhea in what was the showstopper of the 2 days. It was incredible. Then you get the Paul Heyman double turn, which happened, which was insane. He not only turns on his best friend, CM Punk, but he turns on his tribal chief. He holds that nut shot in there. And Seth Rollins gets the win on the biggest stage of them all. And then, of course, we end with what was the most controversial part of the entire time and left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths, was John Cena winning 17, but at the expense of Travis Scott helping him to do it. We had no Rock involvement. And when you sit there and you speak about it all in chronological order and you go through it and it's fresh in your head, it's like, damn, yeah, he should have been there, man. But I liked WrestleMania 41. It did end on a bad note, had some bad stuff happen. But overall, I thought it was a solid B minus WrestleMania.
Yeah, I'd probably lead more towards like the B minus. Maybe C plus B minus, somewhere in that range. You had the great moments like Dom winning. You had the Joe Hendry moment, which I thought was really cool with Randy Orton. Quick replacement, fun replacement. Thought that was perfect. The night one main event was phenomenal. The women's triple threat, phenomenal. But outside of that, I really felt like some of the matches could have maybe delivered a little bit more, or maybe I was more invested in them than what I thought. And then we got there and I was just like, well, okay. Like that, it is what it is. Kind of fell flat. Jacob Fatu LA Knight was good. That was good stuff.
Yeah.
But for it being a WrestleMania, maybe the night 2 just kind of puts a sour note. You have periods of night 1 that you're like, this isn't that great. But you had those in night 2. They were just all in the back end. The Logan Paul over AJ, the Cena heel turn with the Travis Scott thing,
and right before that was Liv and Raquel losing.
Yeah.
A returning Becky Lynch also happened at WrestleMania.
Yeah. And then she just turns heel the next day. You could have, I guess, technically just done that at Mania. Maybe it would have been a little bit of a better reception for me, but it is what it is. It was good stuff. Our first Mania as a podcast, it was fun. Yeah,
it was our first year as a podcast, so it was a good time to go back and reflect over what wrestling we got to watch with all you guys and grow with. And from what I saw, I thought this year was spectacular. I thought there was a bunch of long-term storytelling. I thought stars were absolutely made. Sure, they relied on some tropes of, Rhea was involved with the whole thing. And you had a lot of people that were involved throughout the title scene the entire year. It was another year of a heavy bloodline-centric thing. They never really could figure out the full potential of the Cody Rhodes title reign. I will agree with that. But the highs that took place during each of those runs, there were such great highs throughout it. So on weekly television, if weekly television was a C from them, man, they had some A+ bangers throughout the entire thing. And I thought it was just a spectacular year of wrestling from start to finish, 40 to 41.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. There are some really good moments. There are some bad moments, though. I feel like the women's division was kind of underutilized for a stacked women's division that you showcase these new titles.
Notice how we barely said it.
You showcase the new titles, and then they don't really become a thing. Like I said, Nia Jax has her title. She gets cashed in on. She's not really on TV at that point anymore. So the women's division could be better utilized. Also, the tag team division, I know SmackDown obviously just had an amazing TLC triple threat, but you look at it, especially on the Raw side, and you're like, well, these tag titles don't really matter over here. So it would be nice to get some more emphasis on tag team wrestling again. But it was nice to see some fresh faces get called up, some people maybe you're not accustomed to seeing.
Yep.
It was just a fun year all around. It was a good year.
Yeah, I'm with you. If I had to say, looking forward, what do I want them to critique? I need more out of the mid-card women's division, which so far so good. They called up Stephanie and Roxanne and Julia. Things are looking good there. Tag team wrestling on Raw needs to be fixed overall.
Yeah. Do you think they should just go to one title?
Yes, they should just go to one title, 100%. But in terms of stuff that they need to keep, they just need to keep that long-term storytelling. I love it. I like the slow burn on things. I like how things connected. There are lines you can easily draw from WrestleMania 40 to 41 where you can just mark out bullet points from point A to point Z, and it's great. I love that type of stuff. I love not forgetting wrestling past, kind of like how we used to, where we kind of just forget about things that happen and just new things. I like how everything has there's everything's holding on to each other. It's all one line. It's good stuff to see. So great year of wrestling. This was a different kind of podcast. Thank you guys.
And Triple H went into the Hall of Fame.
Triple H. Oh, did you know that?
Yeah. Did you guys know that?
Yeah. This was a great year of wrestling. Thank you for sticking by and listening to it. It was our Mania year in review, our WWE year in review from WrestleMania 40 to 41. Hope you guys love it. And stop by our live stream. We'll be watching Raw, SmackDown, and PLEs for all this year as well. YouTube.com/@CodWrestlePod, and for everything else @CodWrestlePod. We have a link tree in our bio. It's all there. Like, follow, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. I'm Will. That's Brandon. We are the Cousins of Destruction Wrestling Podcast. We will see you next time.